You can always tell when a man is trying too hard. His words are a little too polished. His movements are rehearsed. His compliments feel transactional. And underneath it all, you can sense the desperation. He's looking for validation, not connection. He's performing, not presiding. The truth is, masculine power is not found in performance. It's rooted in presence. And presence isn't loud. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't seek permission. Presence commands attention by existing fully in the moment, without anxiety about how it's being received. It is the quiet authority of a man who doesn't need to be chosen because he has already chosen himself. Most men don't realize this, but women are not attracted to men for what they say. They are attracted to how those words make them feel. It's emotional, energetic, and it's often subconscious. You can say all the right things and still fall flat if the energy behind those words is weak. But when your presence is fully embodied, grounded in stillness, clarity, and unapologetic masculine awareness, she feels it. Not in her head, in her body. That's the real difference between men who get taken seriously and men who get dismissed without a second thought. The former has nothing to prove. The latter is still asking, am I enough? When a woman walks into a room, she's scanning, maybe not logically, but intuitively, for polarity. She's attuned to which men are truly in control of themselves, not dominating others, not puffed up egos, but control over their mind, their body, their emotional reactivity. When she feels a man who's calm, centered, and not pulled by the room's approval, her feminine instincts engage. She doesn't even know why she's drawn to him, but she is. It's chemistry without chemistry class. It's instinct. Now let's get more direct. When you enter a room, your presence should say one thing before you say anything at all. I am not here to seek. I am here to lead. This doesn't mean you're the loudest. It means your energy is the heaviest in the best way, anchored. You're the eye of the storm, not the chaos. You're attentive, not reactive. A man like that doesn't need games. His presence is the game. But let's be honest, most men don't train this muscle. They train their jawlines, their biceps, maybe even their bank accounts. But they don't train their energy. They don't learn to still themselves, to breathe through tension, to stay rooted while others get tossed by the moment. That's why they get played. That's why they chase women who lose interest. They're bringing performance to a space that only rewards presence. And here's what's fascinating. The less you chase, the more she leans in. Because now she doesn't feel objectified. She feels noticed. She's not your goal. She becomes magnetized by your gravity. You didn't run toward her. You didn't dance for her. You just were. And that being, that grounded masculine being, is a rare force she won't ignore. Now let me go even deeper. Presence is about being anchored in your own identity. And that only happens when you stop outsourcing your self-worth to how women respond to you. When you stop needing her interest to validate your masculinity. You're not performing to be liked. You're not adjusting to be acceptable. You're not saying things for effect. You speak from truth. You move from clarity. You look her in the eye, not to seduce, but to see and to let her see you. That kind of presence does something more than attract. It awakens something in a woman that most men never touch. Her softness, her receptivity, her trust. And trust is what unlocks her sensuality, not your pickup lines, not your game, but her trust in your stability, her confidence in your direction, her safety in your energy. If she senses you're trying to get something from her, she withdraws. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. If she senses you're just being, not needing, if you're full already, then her attraction ignites. Because now it's not about control or conquest, it's about connection. Real magnetic, unapologetic connection. And one last thing, if you walk into any room looking for validation, you're already invisible. But if you walk in knowing that your presence is power, even the ones who look away feel you. Presence lingers. It doesn't need to announce itself. And when you master this, you'll never need to ask, does she like me? Because the answer will always reveal itself in how she reacts, how she shifts, how she orients herself around your energy, and more importantly, how you never needed that confirmation in the first place. So remember this, masculine power isn't in what you do. It's in who you are when you stop trying to be anything else. That's what she feels. That's what makes her want you. That's what makes her open, not just her body, but her feminine heart. And you'll never earn that through performance, only through presence. Your presence is the seduction. Own it, and you won't need to chase anything because everything real will move toward you. Let's get honest about something most men have never been taught. A woman's deepest desire isn't just physical, it's emotional. Her body opens when her heart feels safe. Her sensuality flows when her nervous system relaxes in your presence. But if you trigger anxiety, uncertainty, or emotional chaos in her, even if you're attractive, successful, or confident, she will close, sometimes without even realizing why. Men often make the mistake of assuming that physical attraction is purely visual. It's not. For women, it's visceral. It's deeply tied to how emotionally safe you make her feel, and most men have no idea what that actually means. They confuse attention for affection. They confuse excitement for security. But a woman's body doesn't lie. If she doesn't feel emotionally safe, she won't want to give you access to her physically because it would feel like a betrayal of herself. So what is emotional safety? It's not softness or weakness. It's not you catering to her every need. Emotional safety is your consistency. It's the way you listen without defensiveness. It's how you respond to her vulnerability, not with judgment, but with presence. It's your ability to regulate your own emotions so she doesn't feel like she has to walk on eggshells. It's knowing she can be fully expressed around you without fear of punishment, silence, or passive aggressive withdrawal. When a woman senses that your masculinity is strong enough to contain her emotions, especially the ones she struggles to accept in herself, that's when she trusts you. And trust for her is the gateway to desire. Think about that. Desire isn't just created by physical chemistry. It's created by emotional chemistry. It's another wasted. It's about how her body reacts to your energy. Are you someone who grounds her or someone who unsettles her? Are you someone who listens to her words or someone who hears between them? Are you able to sit with her fire without trying to put it out? Or do you try to fix, manage, or silence her because makes you uncomfortable? Men who unlock a woman's body are the ones who first earn access to her trust. You don't need to manipulate or perform. You just need to be someone she doesn't feel the need to protect herself from. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she naturally relaxes into her femininity. She becomes more playful, more sensual, more radiant because she no longer has to be in her head. She doesn't have to overanalyze your words or question your intentions. Her body is no longer in defense mode. Her nervous system no longer feels the need to shield itself. And another wasted by that's when real intimacy happens. Not just sex, but depth. And let me be clear, this is not about being nice. Niceness can be manipulative if it's rooted in neediness. It's not about pleasing her, it's about making her feel held without having to carry you. There's a big difference. So how do you cultivate this emotional safety? You stop reacting from insecurity. Another way, so you learn to be present when she's emotional instead of collapsing or overcorrecting. You stop making her feelings about you and start seeing them as opportunities to deepen trust. You show up the same way whether she's radiant or raging, expressive or silent. You stay anchored in yourself. That doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. Emotional safety doesn't mean becoming her emotional punching bag. It means creating a space where both of you are allowed to be fully human and both of you are responsible for staying honest, grounded, and self-aware. Here's the paradox. When you create this kind of emotional safety, you unlock her most dangerous edge, her raw feminine power, her desire, her seduction. Not because she feels manipulated or chased, but because she feels seen, safe, and deeply desired. Men often chase arousal without understanding that. For most women, arousal is a byproduct of trust. You can't pressure her into it. You earn it through presence, clarity, and grounded masculine leadership. Let me put this into a real world example. A woman might laugh at your jokes, flirt with you, or even respond positively to your physical touch. But if deep down she doesn't feel safe emotionally, her body will stay guarded. Her engagement will be surface level, but she may entertain your presence, but she won't surrender to it. And that's the difference between being liked and being wanted. Because when a woman wants you, it's not just intellectual, it's embodied. It shows up in the way she leans in, the way her eyes soften, the way her energy pulls you closer. That only happens when she knows this man won't hurt me just to prove his worth. So stop trying to impress her, stop performing for validation, and stop confusing surface level compliance with genuine connection. If you want her body, make her heart feel seen. If you want her openness, become someone she can relax into. If you want real desire, earn real trust. Because once she feels emotionally safe with you, she's not just attracted. She's all in. Not because you manipulated her, but you became the man she doesn't need to defend herself from. That's what triggers physical desire in a woman's safety, not seduction. Your steadiness, not your swagger. And in a world where most men are obsessed with technique, the man who learns to lead from emotional integrity becomes unforgettable. So remember, you don't have to chase what you can attract by being emotionally safe. Become the man her nervous system can trust, and her body will follow every time. There's a reason some men who don't fit society's mold of good looks still attract deeply feminine, beautiful, intelligent women. And it's because women are not wired to fall in love with your face. They're wired to fall in love with your presence. Yes, physical attraction matters, but it's not the first thing that registers in a woman's body. What she tunes into, often unconsciously, is the emotional atmosphere you create when you enter a room. Your energy, your emotional tone, the unspoken feeling that surrounds you and follows you. That's what speaks louder than your jawline, your car, or your curated lifestyle. This is where many men misunderstand the game entirely. They assume attraction is about aesthetics. They go to the gym for the body, but neglect their inner posture. They build a brand, but lack grounded identity. They memorize lines, but miss the energy behind the delivery. Another wasted day. And that's why women can sense when something is off. When a man looks good on paper, but doesn't feel right in her nervous system. Because here's what she's really feeling for congruence, emotional congruence. She's asking, does this man's energy match his words? Is he emotionally clean? Or is he performing? Can I trust what I feel from him even more than what he says to me? And that's where the emotional vibes come in. Women have evolved a high sensitivity to emotional and social cues. It's biological, it's psychological. It's intuitive. Their bodies are built to detect the smallest shifts in energy, tone, and intention, not because they're dramatic, but because it's a form of safety and intelligence. A woman has to sense what you're not saying. She has to feel the subtext. And that feeling is what she responds to. So you might say the right thing. You might look the part, but if your emotional tone feels needy, aggressive, arrogant, unstable, or false, her body will reject you, not out of conscious decision, but out of instinct. On the other hand, when a man shows up with emotional clarity, when his tone feels centered, calm, certain, and rooted, her whole system starts to relax. She doesn't always know why she feels drawn to you. She just does. That's what a real masculine vibe does. It bypasses the surface and goes straight to the body. This is why some men who aren't conventionally attractive are still magnetic. They know who they are. They don't try too hard. They lead with their energy, not their image. And that creates something rare, emotional resonance. Emotional resonance is what makes a woman's body open. It's what makes her smile without realizing it. It's what pulls her thoughts back to you long after the conversation ends. Because she didn't just hear you, she felt you. And feeling for women is everything. Now, emotional vibes aren't about being hypersensitive or overly emotional. That's not attractive. It's about being attuned. It's about having the self an awareness to monitor the energy you carry into every interaction. Are you grounded or reactive? Are you generous or performative? Are you deeply present or just trying to wing? Because here's a brutal truth women can tell when you're trying to extract something from them. Whether it's validation, sex, attention, or control, she can feel it. Even when you smile, even when you compliment her, she may not be able to articulate it, but her intuition will quietly close the door. So the question isn't just, how do I look? The deeper question is, what emotional temperature do I carry? This emotional temperature is a byproduct of your self-worth. When a man is internally secure, emotionally balanced, and spiritually anchored, his energy speaks before he does. He doesn't chase. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't need to perform. He just is. And that quiet, grounded presence creates a powerful ripple. That's what feminine energy craves: a man who leads with peace, not pressure. A man who communicates safety without trying to prove it. A man who doesn't just take up space, but brings clarity into the room. Let's be real. Every man has walked into a room and felt ignored. And every man has walked into a room and felt like the sun was shining just a little brighter when a woman looked his way. The difference wasn't always your looks. It was the vibe you walked in with. So how do you elevate your emotional vibe? You stop chasing validation and start developing emotional self-regulation. You learn to speak slowly, move intentionally, and listen without preparing your next move. You begin to value depth over attention. You clean up your emotional leaks, resentment, passive aggression, neediness, or pride, and you operate from wholeness. You choose presence over performance. When a woman feels that, she remembers it because it's rare. And it's rare because most men are too busy performing to ever become real. So the most attractive thing you can offer isn't your physique, it's your emotional clarity. That's what creates connection. That's what generates chemistry. That's what unlocks her desire. Because at the end of the day, you're not trying to be the best looking man in the room. You're trying to be the most felt. And when a woman feels you, truly feels your presence, everything changes. So remember this, looks may get her attention, but your emotional vibe is what earns her. There's a reality about women that modern conversations often brush aside for the sake of political correctness. A woman's decisions, her emotions, and even her perception of the world are deeply influenced by her biology, specifically her hormones. And no, this isn't an insult. This is not about undermining her intelligence or reducing her to a biological mechanism. This is about understanding the truth of how powerful, beautiful, and sometimes paradoxical the feminine experience is. If you're a man who wants to truly connect with a woman, not manipulate her, but understand her, you cannot afford to overlook this. You see, the masculine tends to operate in straight lines. Logic, goals, strategy. A man will often separate emotion from action because that's how he's built. But a woman's reality isn't linear. It's cyclical. Every month, her body goes through a hormonal symphony that doesn't just affect her physically. It shifts her desires, her thoughts, her arousal, her trust, her creativity, and even how she perceives you. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone don't just float in the background of her physiology, they write the emotional and behavioral script she lives by every day. At different phases of her cycle, she may crave closeness and nurturing connection. In another phase, she may crave freedom, space, and assertiveness. One day she wants to be held. Another, she needs to feel powerful. That's not inconsistency, it's complexity, and it's sacred. Now let's break this down practically. During her ovulatory phase, for example, the time when she's biologically most fertile, estrogen peaks. She becomes more confident, more social, more sexually open, more adventurous. Her skin literally glows more. Her voice becomes more melodic. She might dress more boldly without even realizing it. And yes, she may flirt more, sometimes even unconsciously. Not because she's being disloyal or reckless, but because her body is trying to do what it's wired to do, attract the strongest possible mate. A week or so later, progesterone begins to rise. This is the hormone of nesting, security, and reflection. Suddenly, she may feel withdrawn. She might question everything, even you. She may become more critical, more sensitive, more introspective. This is not a switch in love. It's a shift in hormonal landscape. And if you, as a man, personalize that instead of understanding it, you'll misread her. You'll say she's moody, distant, cold. But what she needs in that moment is space, emotional steadiness, and the freedom to feel without being punished for it. Then comes the premenstrual phase, often marked by irritability or emotional surges. Again, this isn't drama. It's biology. Her body is preparing to release what's not needed. That includes physical matter and emotional tension. And what she most needs is not a man who reacts to her outbursts, but a man who can be a container, calm, stable, non-judgmental, not passive, but rooted. This is the power of masculine awareness. When you know what's happening in her biology, you stop reacting to the surface and start responding to the root. You don't get pulled into the drama, you see through it. You become the kind of man she can trust with her entire emotional range, not just the parts that are easy to love. But here's where it gets deeper. A woman doesn't always know this about herself. She may not understand how much her hormones shape her day-to-day behavior. And when she doesn't understand it, she feels shame for being too much or guilt for being inconsistent. That's why your understanding, your grounded presence isn't just attractive, it's healing. When a man can hold space for a woman's hormonal rhythm without needing to fix, control, or dismiss her, something sacred happens. She relaxes. She surrenders. Not out of weakness, but out of trust. And that's what creates emotional intimacy that lasts. Not manipulation, not games, not pressure, but presence, anchored, masculine presence that knows how to ride her emotional waves without drowning in them. And let's be honest, this kind of presence is rare. Most men weren't taught this. They were taught to expect women to be rational, consistent, and logical like themselves. But when a man expects a woman to behave like a man, he misses the very essence of what makes her a woman. Her magic is not in her sameness. Her magic is in her flow, her chaos, and her intuitive sensitivity. And that magic is shaped, yes, sometimes even ruled by hormones. Understanding this doesn't mean you excuse toxic behavior or walk on eggshells. It means you see her more clearly. It means you lead the dynamic with deeper wisdom. You don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be a therapist. You just need to be aware. You need to observe patterns, learn her rhythm, stay grounded even when her emotions rise. That's what makes a man irreplaceable in a woman's life, not because he dominates her, but because he knows how to dance with her biology. And in that dance, a deep truth emerges when a woman feels emotionally understood, not fixed, not judged, but understood. Her loyalty, her desire, and her feminine energy flow back to you with force. So remember this,